Hello, before we get started, let us first introduce ourselves. I am Craig Scott.
And I am Katie Dyers. We are both solicitors in the employment team at the city law firm Goodman Derrick. We ran a survey last summer to find out how businesses were actually using social media. We found that 96% of businesses had a presence on at least one social media site, with Twitter, LinkedIn and Facebook being the most popular channels. Our survey results confirmed what we thought. Social media has really become embedded in the workplace.
So to help you deal with the employment law risks associated with social media use, we have created a series of podcasts to help employers. This is part 4, dealing with who owns the social media contacts made during the employee's employment.
It is all well and good getting employees to build up a big social media presence and network, but who owns those contacts? This should be a big issue for employers who permit or encourage work-related social networking. However, our survey revealed a surprising range of responses, with 44% saying they did not know who owned the business contacts. Unfortunately, there is very little case law to help us understand how the courts might approach the question of ownership of contacts, where those contacts are stored on social media sites. Take, for example, LinkedIn. Employees can basically now post a list of their clients and professional contacts in the public domain. Those contacts are accessible and easily portable.
The case of Hayes Specialist Recruitment does provide some limited guidance in relation to LinkedIn ownership of contacts. In that case, Mr. Irons left after 6 years of employment at Hayes to set up a competing business. In his contract, there were clauses protecting confidential information, and he had 6-month post-termination restrictions. He sent LinkedIn requests to 2 candidates who had registered with Hayes and to an HR manager of a current client of Hayes. Hayes said that he had deliberately migrated details of business contacts from a confidential database to his own personal LinkedIn account. He had done this by uploading those contacts so that LinkedIn would invite them by email to join his network. The employee's argument was that the information formed part of his own knowledge, and it was all done with the consent of Hayes because he had been encouraged to join LinkedIn. He also said that when the contact had accepted the invitation, the information was no longer confidential as it could be seen by all his contacts. The High Court said that there were reasonable grounds for considering that Hayes might have a valid claim, particularly as contacts were added to his LinkedIn after he set up his competing business. It was irrelevant that the contacts had to accept his request, or that this meant that they were no longer confidential information. It is hard to argue that email details can be part of personal knowledge base if learned during employment, or that the database could simply be recreated from memory. The court ordered disclosure of emails sent by Mr. Irons via his LinkedIn account from Hayes' computer system, and the documents relating to use of contacts downloaded from Hayes' system during the employment. But the court would not order Mr. Irons to disclose his new database of contacts in order for Hayes to see if there were any from their database. This request was viewed as a fishing exercise.
So a point to note about this case: whilst it is helpful to a certain degree, the case only concerned an order by the High Court for pre-action disclosure. We have no final decision on the ownership point, and presumably the case settled after this decision.
The Widmark Case in 2013 was a classic team move case where 3 employees set up a competing business. One of the ex-employees, Ms. Wright, had managed LinkedIn groups for Widmark. Widmark accused the ex-employee of using its confidential information and using the LinkedIn group as a source of email contacts to send a press release about their new business. Ms. Wright refused to give Widmark access details or the password for the LinkedIn group accounts. She claimed that the groups were personal to her and that they were a hobby. Widmark applied for an injunction. In this case, the court felt that there was a strong case that the employees had been taking steps to compete, and this ceased to be merely preparatory and had become active competition. The court granted Widmark an injunction preventing the ex-employees from working for their new business for a period. As the LinkedIn group had been set up and operated for the benefit of the employer to promote its business, the court felt that the network in the groups should be considered the employer's property. Managing the groups had been part of the employee's duties. Widmark was given exclusive access to management and control of the LinkedIn group. In terms of LinkedIn, where there is no express agreement otherwise, the basic position is that the account belongs to the person who creates it, as they have the contractual relationship with the social media site. However, this does not mean that the employer does not own the contents of the page. The Widmark case highlights the importance of having clear express duties on employees to maintain an account for the purpose of promoting the business.
So on the slide are some suggestions for managing business social media. Obtain the express consent in employment contracts in relation to the ownership of social media contacts. Have a clear written policy which is communicated to all employees. Use a company-managed account to which more than one employee has access. Require the use of company and not personal email for the account. Require that passwords are notified to the employer. Carry out a regular review of the sites and work together with employees to develop the individual's profile and network as part of their employment duties. Require that profiles are relinquished on termination. Allow the use of company authorised pages only.
There are still many questions that the courts have not yet considered. One grey area is where an employee has a mix of personal and professional connections, or where an employee comes to you with an online network of good connections which you want to use. Establishing that a profile is operated for the benefit of your business is essential. Employees may want to negotiate on commencement to carve out established and personal connections from ownership and restrictions imposed. You might try to agree that they close a current profile and migrate contacts to your business.
Thank you for watching, but just before we go, no social media session will be complete without us sharing our social media presence with you. Please do follow us on Twitter at EmpLawHeroes and connect with us on LinkedIn. Please also get in touch should you need any employment law assistance. We would be very happy to help.
And do check out our other podcasts for more information about social media in the workplace. Bye for now.